Today, as you may recall, the political leader of the All Liberian Party, Honorable Benoni Urey, normally holds these sort of discussions with the media and speak to issue of national concern to the Liberian people. Is a biannual event that we normally have involving interaction between the political leader and members of the Fourth Estate. Today is one of those events. I would like to say to you, you are highly welcome. At today's tete-a-tete with the media, Mr. Urey, as founding member of the CPP and also political leader of the All Liberian Party, will speak to issues of national concern, covering the blooming national economy that our people are faced with. He will talk about the resurgence of COVID again in our country. He will speak to issues of governance in our country, national security, issues surrounding peace and reconciliation, the establishment of the Economic and War Crimes Court in Liberia. And during our interaction, Mr. Urey will reiterate his commitment as the chairman under whose leadership CPP was birthed. He will reiterate his unflinching commitment to ensuring that CPP will become a viable option of governance for our country. The ALP, under his leadership, will do nothing whatsoever to undermine the CPP. Rather, Mr. Urey will explain to you about his demonstrated commitment to making sure that all aspects of the framework are scrupulously implemented to the letter. In addition to what Mr. Urey will speak though in his introductory comments, you will be afforded the opportunity to ask questions and make comments and raise concerns. And Mr. Urey will be very glad to respond appropriately. So on behalf of the office of the political leader, the leadership of the All Liberian Party, and in my own name as national chairman of the party, I would like to say thank you for coming and welcome. Thank you.
Gentlemen of the press, I would firstly like to welcome you to my office here today. We bring you greetings from the All Liberian Party, a party that is dedicated to the will and aspiration of the Liberian people. We've called you here today as a part of two annual events that we usually partake in with the press. At these two events, we afford you the opportunity to ask all possible questions as it relates to our country. We basically speak on two extremely important issues in our perspective, and then we'll leave the rest to you all to bring forth all your questions, your thoughts, ideas about moving our country forward. My people in this room and Liberians outside of this edifice, Liberians across the world, I want to waste no time in mentioning to you that we have a national health crisis at hand. We have waited on the government for over a week to come up with a statement on our position as a nation and as a people as it relates to the coronavirus surge in our country. Unfortunately, they have not. As you all can record, years ago when Ebola hit Liberia, we were the first who came on radio and called on the then President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf to return home and treat the Ebola crisis as an emergency. She failed to do that. Instead, a few of her lieutenants went on the air and abused us. They specifically to me, they mentioned that I need to go and sell my chicken eggs and scratch cards and leave the governance of Liberia to them. Unfortunately for them, in a month's time, Ebola had hit us so hard, we lost control. We, my NGO, had to join the process to fight Ebola. We saved thousands of Liberians. It was a horrible experience for all of us here. We do not want to go down that road again. The latest report from the Ministry of Health 3 days ago said we had 380 some more cases of the coronavirus reported. Yesterday alone, we saw a report of 78 new cases reported. This is by far worse than the first strain of attack on us. This strain of the virus, we know is much worse than the first. More people have died in the last few days than they did during the whole period of the first attack of coronavirus on Liberia. Look, we're concerned. All the hospitals are filled. They lack oxygen to treat the patients. My people, I had the most troubling experience the other night. I think most of you all know Henry Flomo. He called me about 10 o'clock and he said, Mr. Urey, do you know a hospital? My mother is dying. I believe she has coronavirus and she's dying. We've been to 3 hospitals and we don't have a bed. They don't have oxygen everywhere. I got on the phone and I called about 7 hospitals in and around Monrovia, and all of them didn't have a bed. They didn't have oxygen. Unfortunately for Henry, his mother died after 4 hours driving around in the car. The pain and agony he went to, I shared it with him that night. Too many of my friends and relatives have the virus and they're in the hospital. My people, we want to use this opportunity to inform the president that he has to take leadership of this process now, or we are doomed as a people. And we're calling on all of you all here, the media, to join this fight to ensure that our president take control of the situation and bring it back to normality. I think a few months ago, I held a press conference and I did mention during the first coronavirus attack on Liberia that I was relatively comfortable with the arrangement at the airport and in Liberia at the hospital. I must admit, the Minister of Health, she's one minister that every time you call her, she will answer or return your call. We must give her that credit. But we find ourselves in a precarious situation. The president has to make some hard and strong decisions if we're going to nail the virus in its position. Something has to be done at our airports to ensure that this virus isn't brought in. Something has to be done to ensure that it's not carried in rural Liberia. He has to take the leadership. My people, this is serious. I also want to let Liberia and Liberians all around the world know that we have a shortage of oxygen in this country. And I want the world to know that when Ebola hit Liberia, the American government was kind enough to have provided 2 oxygen facilities to the government of Liberia. And both of those facilities could supply 2 times the population of Liberia and their needs in oxygen. 2 of them. Both of them were donated to JFK. And they are still there and have not been connected. It would have taken Elling's government less than $20,000 to have brought in the experts to connect it. Today, I don't know the condition of it. It is still there. And our people are dying today because of the lack of oxygen. I want to encourage the Minister of Health. She does not need the consent of the President or the executive branch of government, nor the legislative branch of government. She can declare a national health emergency. And she must do it. There are just too many people ill and dying. She has to take the leadership. The president must divert funds from other areas that have been budgeted to treat this national health emergency. You all see you here looking healthy. It's possible in a few hours you could be very sick. And we must all fight that this does not happen. For me, living is more important than anything. That is why I have used that as the first item on our interaction. Secondly, I want to talk about the economy of our country. My people, we continue to see the economy plundering. Our economy is in the worst state it has been in for many, many years. It's time for our government and the people of Liberia to realize that and start doing the positive thing that will propel the economy. Look, experientially, a few days ago, I went to buy a roll of wire that I usually pay $60 for. It has gone up to $140. The price is skyrocketing all around us. Gasoline has gone up. Fuel has gone up. I mean, electricity is barely existing. Water is a luxury. Many areas in and around Monrovia have gone without water for months. Electricity for months. These are commodities that spins the economy. Electricity, water, and good governance. We have a problem with governance. Corruption has grown more than 100 heads. We have to put force on our leader to start chopping off those heads of corruption, to ensure that the people of Liberia survive. It's of concern when we listen to the Chief Justice admitting that the judicial system is corrupt. It's of concern, and it's most mortifying. It's most mortifying to hear a recording of the president pro tempore seeking hundreds of thousands of dollars from the executive branch of government. We don't know if this recording is authentic or not. But what we want to say here, we want to challenge the Vice President of Liberia to conduct a special session of the Senate and have that recording investigated. And we believe once it's investigated and it's ascertained that the pro tempore was the one on that tape seeking $500,000 or whatever the amount is from the executive branch of government, he should do the most honorable thing. What people usually do in democracy, what decent people do, he needs to resign. He needs to resign to bring dignity to the first branch of government. These are some of my initial thoughts that I thought to share with you. You know, I don't want to continue to speak because I promise you all that this will be interactive. And I want it to be as interactive as possible. So let me not superimpose my concerns on you, but rather respond to your question and your concern.
Thank you very much. So we'll now do a question and answer session. So, okay, we'll take first Young Tituba from OKFM.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Urey. My name is Young Tituba, I report for OKFM. Basically, I have two questions, maybe a lot of colleagues want to join me. The first is, we are in 2021, and the CPB just a few more years to the holding of a presidential election, and up to date, it hasn't been a convention as to who becomes the standard bearer and vice standard bearer of the CPB. And there have been a lot of internal confusion, especially within the CPB, as to who you support. And people have been saying whether you have any intention to go as standard bearer of the CPB. And then secondly, there has been this news recently from the legislature as a whole, where lawmakers, majority of them received the sum of 15,000 United States dollars from the Ministry of Finance, specifically, like I said, it's part of a legislative engagement. And so a political party has made a decision that, look, the legislature should return the money given the prevailing health situation. How do you respond to some of these concerns that pop up in recent time?
Well, let's take the first concern. The first thing, my people, you know, we keep hearing about confusion being in the CPP. And most of it we hear from you all. You know, I don't think any leader within the CPP have openly stated that there is confusion in the CPP. There is disagreement. And of course, in every political gathering, you know, irrespective of what it is, there will be agreements and there will be disagreements. But we are cognizant of the fact that elections is scheduled for 2023. We also have a time framework that we have set up in regards to what we do up until 2023. And we're pleased to inform you that right now we're in the consensus mode at the CPP, and it's being led by Senator Yumli Kanga, where she should be trying to get a consensus on who will lead the CPP ticket. And once that, we hope that that could be concluded and we could have a candidate, a presidential candidate, okay, of the CPP. But if that is not possible, the next step is to do a VPS, a voters perspective poll, where we will go out and do sampling of the entire country to see who the Liberian people really wants to head the CPP ticket. And those results will be given to delegates at the primary, and they will elect the standard bearer of the ticket. You also know that constitutionally, after that, the vice president will select the vice standard bearer. So the process is on. You know, we understand the anxiety that all of you, all and most Liberians, must be experiencing, you know. And that anxiety comes with the economic situation we find ourselves in Liberia. We want to assure you all, as a founding member of the CPP and the organizing chairman, we want to overly commit ourselves to the process. And we can show you that that framework document we signed will be adhered to the letter. You all have demanded that we come together and we select a candidate to head the CPP ticket. And the process is on. Please give us the opportunity to do your work. And please assist us in the process, because we know that this process is a difficult one. We have 4 political parties with different views and aspirations. And it's a difficult thing to bring them together, to work as a unit. But some of us who are seasoned politicians, we know how to do it. Now, you talked about the CPP coming together. I want to mention something here. Some years ago, 2+ years ago, the political leader at that time, Councillor Bronson, he was alive. We met at the former vice president's office. And at that meeting, it was Councillor Bronson from the Liberty Party, Joseph Neiman Bronson, Joseph Neiman Boyka from the Unity Party, and Alexander Cummings from the ANC, and of course Benoni Urey from the ALP. We met at the former Vice President Boyka's office, and at that meeting, we decided that we would lay all our political ambitions on the table, and we will work for the Liberian people. That we will speak in one voice, we will act uniformly. Until we can decide who is the standard bearer of the CPP. And after that, we'll all unite behind whoever is chosen as the standard bearer, and we'll present him to the Liberian people, and we'll go through the length and breadth of this country, campaigning for him to ensure that he's elected for president. Well, I speak on behalf of myself. I've tried to follow that. I've stayed away from the press speaking about Benoni Urey and his political desires. I've encouraged others in the CPP to follow that example, and let's work together to ensure that we deliver what we promised the Liberian people. And you be the judge. You can attest that we have spoken very little, but we've done a lot behind the scene. And at the appropriate time, you will hear from us, and you will hear from us clearly and loudly. But we must be careful. We must be careful until we have gathered the ticket and decide to move forward. We want to keep the unity, the presidents that you all mandated us. Look, the 15,000 fellow Liberians, I've listened to a lot of opinions and commentaries, and I've read a few postings on this 15,000 issue. I want to make it clear here that there was nothing done illegally. The 15,000 was budgeted for, okay, and it was released, and senators signed for it. But there is a catch. Everything that is legal is not necessarily right. The question here is it expedient at this time in a national health crisis to be giving 15,000 to an individual? The other question here is there's a humanity aspect of it. You have the staffers at the Senate who has not been paid for many months, who is striking, and you take 15,000 and give it to each senator, even though it's legal, it's not expedient. Everything that's legal is not right. Look, I understand there are some people that have been hard on one or more senators. It's because of the promises they made to the people. You see, when you're running for this political office, one has to be careful with what they say and promises they make, that in the future it doesn't haunt you. When you raise the expectation of the Liberian people, they will demand that you beat them. That is the situation here. And we want to encourage all the senators to look at what is happening in our country. And if you represent the people and you see what is coming down the tunnel to your people, in your conscience, do you feel it's right to take $15,000? When a portable oxygen machine costs $2,000, you know, one that you can plug and oxygen is given immediately to somebody. One is $2,000. You know how many of them, $15,000 can buy. You know how many lives you can save. So we listen to these posts on the social media. We listen to talk show hosts justifying it. For me, even though it's legal, it's not right. It's not right. When your people are suffering. Look, during the Ebola, we did not sit and secure our family. We took money that was our private money and we used it. We established the youth foundation. We treated almost equal patients. Ebola patient as the government did. We had what you call a home care situation. We hired doctors and nurses, and we had an emergency situation where you would call in the doctors and nurses. I had the U-car rental. We devoted all the cars. It was that. And they had doctors and nurses. You call and say, this person, you believe they have Ebola, they will come to your house, isolate you, feed you, treat you, until it got extremely bad. Then we take them to the Ebola center. We did that. We took our own resources. It's time for everyone to sacrifice. If you hold the money back, you could die and leave that money. So we want to appeal to the senator. We're not going to condemn them because they didn't do anything illegal. We want to appeal to them, to their good offices, for them to call a session and see what can be done. Maybe they can get every senator to contribute $5,000 and put it and give it to the public health. That some progress can be made in treating this coronavirus attack that come on our country. So, in conclusion to your question, yes, the 15,000 is illegal, and I will condemn nobody because it was budgeted for, and it was allocated, and it was dispersed. But my question is what is legal always expedient? And is it, there's a human aspect of it, and we want to encourage our senators to revisit that quickly, that all the money is not used. That some of this money can go towards healthcare delivery.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to do a follow-up.
A follow-up question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You previously talked about the CPP framework. My name is Benoni Urey. I report for Cool TV, Cool 101.9 Asia. relatively to the CPP framework, are you still maintaining your statement about your support to the former Vice President, Joseph Imambuaka?
Very good question. Look, I expected this question, and I want to even relax a little bit in that. At least I brought a little laughter, a little bit too serious. But let's get on the serious. Fellow Liberians, I want to speak to you on this topic with all candor. You know, I've always been honest to you as a people. And I always have spoken out. I did it on a Talbot, I did it on a Doe, I did it on an Ellen. I've done it all my life, and I will do it till I die. I owe myself and the Liberian people the truth. The situation about me supporting the vice president, I want to tell you how. I was asked a question by Gerald Cummings on his show, and he asked me, listen carefully, my people. He asked me, Mr. Urey, of the three of you, Benoni Urey, Alexander Benedict Cummings, and Joseph Imambuaka, who do you think is best prepared to lead the CPP? I was honest, and I said to Gerald, I do not have to be president. Leave me out. I said, of the two, Joseph Imambuaka is more experienced, he's more educated, he's been tested politically, and I think I would support Joe. My people, I was prosecuted by another political party. I was insulted. I was abused, but that's the reality. I want to challenge anybody who said they disagree with me, put up their hand. I see nobody. But let's go further. Let's go further. When did this start? 2 years into Ellen's second term, we had what you call, and I want you all to listen to me carefully. We had what you call a musical event at the First Presbyterian Church in Carrisville. And I headed that committee when we got performers from all, religious performers from all over Liberia to come spend the afternoon with us at the First Presbyterian Church. And knowing that Joe Boyka liked religious music and he would always show up to those kind of ceremonies, because I always used to go and I used to meet him there. So I invited him and his wife to come to the occasion. He came. It was a wonderful time. I mean, you could feel the spirit in the church, you know. And at that program, after a half of the program, we had recess and we served coffee, you know, and small food, and people were encouraged to go eat and socialize. The vice president, he was vice president at that time, he was sitting in the front row and they brought drinks and some pastries to him to eat, he and his wife. And he was sitting there. I said, no, Mr. Vice President, you could be the next president. So come, get up and let me take you around and introduce you. That was the second year in Ellen's second term. You know how long that has been. I took him around and I introduced him to everybody. And of course, he charmed everybody. He said his jokes. And it was a wonderful occasion. Okay. But I did tell him, you could be the next president. Get up and meet your people. And he listened to me. He got met his people. The next incident was during elections. Most of you all here covered the debate. I challenge anybody to tell me I didn't win that debate. I won it. Square and fair. Now, but during that debate, my older brother and good friend, Charles Brownson, he attacked Joe Boycott. And I said, And he talked about, people being a tribalist and surrounding themselves with only people of the tribe, and they made reference to President Boycott and Emmanuel Urey. When it was my time to respond, I said, no, I've known Joseph Nima Boycott all my life, and he's not a tribalist. I said, when you are in an office, you place people you have implicit confidence in around you. And maybe all the people he have implicit confidence, unfortunately, were people from Lofa. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he was a tribalist. And I said, no, I've been knowing this man all my life. He is not that way. I know his wife and his family is not that way. And I went further. I said, Emmanuel Nokwe, I know him very well. He and my brother were on Todi Mission, roommates. Emmanuel Nokwe's father is a pastor in my church, the First Presbyterian Church of Liberia. And I said, there's nothing wrong in politics. We all use everything possible, every tool to ensure that we win an election. So if they use tribalism and say, oh, let all the native person vote for the man will make you win, you will use it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a tribalist. So at that time, I defended Joseph Boycott. Because, look, I was campaigning for the presidency, but I felt we must never go that low in our country. The third incident, and I want you to listen carefully. After the elections, the first round, well, we all know we didn't have an election in this country. We had a selection. In fact, the young comrade Martin Qualley has proven beyond all reasonable doubt, but we didn't have it. Numbers were assigned to people. So I challenge anybody who can't tell me, they have more votes than me. Some of the people you know who I'm talking about. In Liberia, I mean, the thing was so bad. In my yard, in Bond County, around my yard, well, most of my pellet people live and dwell. They said I didn't get one vote there. Amen. But then again, in the interest of the country, I let it go. We're coming closer to the point after the first round, Joe Boycott drove out to my home on the farming territory. And I walked with her. Oh, it's the vice president. Welcome. Then I came to see you. We went in the living room. He said, look, Ben, I need your support. We talked for over 2 hours. And I told him, as a vice president, I would have to go to the executive committee of my party and convince them. And he said, okay, I respect that, and please get back to me after your meeting. My chairman is sitting right here. We called a meeting of our party. It was a heated one. But eventually we took a vote, and I said, other than 3 persons, Joe Boyka got all the votes. So we decided we support Joe Boyka second round. We made that very clear. Very, very clear. Other people told people that well, let's go back. I went to everybody and I pleaded with them. I said, look, the place where I see our country going, let's get together and unite behind Joe Boyka to ensure that we win this election. And my people, to Liberians in and around the world, I want you to know that if we were united behind Joe Boyka, it would have been impossible for the people to have cheated. People said they got on the plane, they left Liberia, and told their partisan to vote their heart and their conscience. That wasn't the way to do it. They did not support Joe Boyka. At that time, Joe Boyka didn't only need the moral support, he needed the financial support, he needed everything. But we were the first, and we stood alone in supporting Unity Party. All of you all know about it. Let's go further. I can remember on one day when it was glaring that the election was being rigged. I went to Joe Boyka. And now this is where I'm going to tell you why I supported that man there, and why I support him today, and why I will support him tomorrow. I went to him and I said, VP, you know what? Everything else has failed. We will not win this election if we go to the polls. He said, why Benoni? I told him everything. All the news I've gotten. Because look, I saw my relatives with 2 cars going up with pre-marked ballots. You know? We saw it. We experienced it. And I told him, VP, we need to get on the street. I said, we must get on the street. This thing is not right. We must fight. He listened carefully. Wisdom, experience, education is important in decision making. He listened carefully to me. He said, Urey, sit down, relax yourself. And I said, you know what, Benoni? You're a young man. You got children. He said, what I'm seeing here, if we put the people, children on the street, they will hurt them, they will kill them, they will burn down Liberia. I don't want to be president with blood on my hands. He said, I don't want to be the president who encouraged people, children to go on the street and be killed. He said, I don't want to be a president who would champion the burning down of Monrovia. I was angry. I said, well, what kind of man is you? You know, because at that time, you're hot. You want to get on the street. But then I started having mixed feelings. I went home. I didn't talk to anybody. Listen to me carefully. I went home, laid down on my bed, and I said, wow, it's a great man. Someone who have come close to the presidency. Because I'm sure who have got down the street, it would have been a different thing. Somebody who have gotten close to power. He said, in the interest of his country and his people, he would not do it. And I said, well, Lord, you know why. And I bent down and prayed. That was when I made a commitment that I would not fight the man Joe Boyka. To see that someone would come so close to the presidency and give it up for his country. My man, I cannot say for certainty, with certainty, that if I was in his position, I would have done what he said. I know definitely that all the other people would not have done it. You know, but that is the sign of a true and good leader, a unifier. You know, I hear people talking about the woman is too old. That's what we need now. We don't want no young people who can cause trouble because we ain't enough of it now. You know, I go to him at times with radical views. And he said, "You just sit down." And he would lecture me on what should be done. But he always tells you why it should be done. And he speaks experientially. So I've given you 2 or 3 reasons or occasion where I supported him and where I formulated my opinion about this man. Thirdly, finally, look, my people, I challenge you to go out in the streets, take any 10 persons, and ask them who you think should lead the CPP ticket. If 8 of them don't say Joe Parker, don't call me Benoni Urey. I've gone through the length and breadth of this country. People are, "Oh my man, why you not running? Why you not running?" I'm not going to go against the will of the Liberian people. I'm not a fool, my people. I am not a fool. I am not going to go against the will of the Liberian people. The Liberian people have spoken, and that has been the one. Look, we are interesting people. They say when Taylor came, you know, when Ellen in her campaign speech, "Oh, the man kill your pa, he kill your man." Down the street, we saw that running. He killed our man, he killed our pa, we'll vote for him. Then the other election where we are, "Oh, that man, you know, both, that man not educated, how you a runner?" What do people say? He know both, we'll vote for him. And the people come again, you know, they say we'll vote for him. My people, we have to respect the will of the Liberian people. I am a conformist. I am a traditional man. I don't go against my uncle and I don't insult them. So I hope I've made it clear. I want to speak to all the Liberians, especially the one in the diaspora. Look, you all in America and in Europe, you don't know what's happening on ground. You don't know what's happening on ground. It's not whether I want Joe Boyka or Joe Boyka wants himself. The Liberian people want him. I had the occasion to go to Banga and to send my youth wing team. They went to Banga, they went to Nimba. And what did the message they brought back? The people said they apologize for not voting for Joe Boyka, but it will make it right in the next election. My people, let me jokingly tell you all what I told Joe Boyka the other day. Well, I said, not joking, I said, "VP, the whole your mind rub on your head. I see it here." But okay, we did that out loud. But my people, on a serious note, I think I've answered that question. The man, Joe Boyka, you know, yes, he might be up there in age, but also he's up there in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Liberian culture, the Liberian way of life, the economy. You know, he was part of the government when the agriculture wheel was turning. So, people writing all sorts of articles, you know, and discrediting people. And I want to address one thing before you ask the question. I know that question coming. You know, I listen, and I know they come in to cuss me. Especially our friends on the other side. They come in to cuss me, and our friends on that side. But what difference does it make? I don't care. I would say the facts. You know, we must realize something. Oh, they say I'm a war criminal. I was never here for war. Huh? When they attacked us, we ran away and went to Sierra Leone. I was in Sierra Leone during the war, even driving taxi. Me and Paul Mulva, he would run the taxi from 6 to 2 o'clock, running from 2 to 8 o'clock, and we'll come to in the morning with Leon in our pocket and act like we were rich. But we were poor running car. And when we see our Liberian friend, we dodge and go, you know. But we suffered. Then I got a job at the African Development Bank. I went there. You know. Then I came to Liberia. I got a loan from PCCI to open the rubber factory in Ghana. And I came and did it when they fight the war. When I became war criminal. But they forget about that political leader that finance rebel group. You know. But one day they would play with me and we were talking. And I want to use this occasion to tell you all that the TRC report that they give, go and read it. The TRC invited me to their meetings, and I refused to go there. And let me tell the world why I refused. Because I thought it was a one-party group. They only had progressives on the TRC. I wasn't going to waste my time to go there. And in the TRC, what did they say? Benoni, they wanted from Benoni further investigation. Because I didn't appear. Then let's go back. And I'm trying to make this clarity. You know, I never fought any war. And I challenge anybody to bring any document to prove that Benoni Urey, there was a Urey that fought the war. They keep missing you. You are not this Benoni Urey. Benoni Urey was never here. But when I came to the near end, and I was running a rubber factory. Now, the UN, all that man UN sanction, go to the United States of America, go to a UN mission, we're not on any sanctions. We're not on any sanctions. In fact, I want to give the names. Well, let me see something. In fact, there's this guy, he's called Matthew Bithell, a special agent from the United States government. Okay, I have a copy of his ID card here. Homeland Security. He investigated me in Liberia for over a month. I gave them access to all my bank's accounts, everything. Also, the panel of experts. At that time, it was headed by Lance Berry. He's a Sierra Leonean. It's headed by him. He came to Liberia and that man tortured me. For over 2 months he was in this country, asking me questions. I gave him access to my company, to my company loan side. I gave him access to all my farm documents. I gave him access to all my bank accounts. Everything. They investigated it for over a year. They found no link to anything. And they cleared me. And they removed my name from the sanction list. But you see, the people still talk about, I want no sanction. You know? But you cannot continue to argue and to keep saying it again, and again. Look, my people, Liberia is an interesting place. I thought we were alone, but I read a documentary the other night on J.J. Rawlings, and he talked about how he was treated when he left power. He said he was a man, he had no bank account in any foreign bank. And he talked about one time when his wife got sick and he wanted to take her to the hospital. He had no money. He had to call his friends, you know, to beg them for money to send his wife to the hospital. And he said what was most painful to him was when he went to Germany to see his wife in the hospital. The driver at the embassy, when they asked to carry the car, and he told him no, the man got angry and threw the keys on the table and took a private car and took his wife and him to the hospital. So I said, well, Rawlings was better than me. He didn't have any foreign account, but I did. But I gave the UN, I gave Homeland Security my account. They saw how much money had been deposited in it and how much was withdrawn. They didn't see any link to it, so they cleared it. So y'all go tell your people that I was cleared by Homeland Security. I was audited by this government twice. And KWP, I think also audited Bureau of Maritime Affairs. They cleared me. I got copies. I can make it available to you all. In addition to that, who succeeded me? J.D. Slanger. His annual report is also there. I left Maritime with millions of dollars in our inside account. And what happened? When I left, that was money I was trying to keep. Even when Taylor wanted me to repatriate this money back home, I refused. And they took that money under Julie Bryant and they ate over $20 million from MSI. I also have for you that will make it available to you a letter that I wrote Julie Bryant. You see this maritime program? When I took over maritime was on the edge of destruction. We fought, we labored to get maritime back to where it is today. We changed our agents from IRI to LISCA. In fact, the name LISCA, me and Joe Keller suggested it. We got the maritime program. And I want to make it clear here, the consolidated accounting, it was started under Charles Taylor. Elias Sillaby came to me and he said, my little brother, I want to tell you something. This maritime fund, you have to deposit it in government accounting and let whatever budget appropriation needs to be made for you. At first, I didn't agree, but he convinced me. We went to Charles Taylor, and he saw the reason, and we sent Elias Sillaby to Europe to open the first account where all the funds were transferred. Maritime funds did not come to Benoni Urey. It went directly to an account from the agent. LISCA, the American company, went there. Now I want to go back on the UN sanction list. They had me there for $628,000. I would transfer to San Air by the maritime agents, not Benoni Urey. When the finance minister called me and told me, Mr. Urey, the president directs that you instruct the agents to transfer $625,000, $27,000 or $28,000 to San Air to purchase 2 helicopters. I think you know one of the helicopters, and Frank Schwab got killed in one, and the other one was used for the SSS. I took his letter, and being farsighted, I said, well, Minister, just, write a letter and fax it to me. And he wrote the letter. I took a covering letter, and I wrote it to my controller. I said, dear Mr. Controller, by the instruction of the President through the Finance Minister, you are hereby directed to instruct our agents to transfer $628,000 to Sam Air. When this man, I can remember, came, and he asked me, were you involved in the transfer? The man from Homeland Security, were you involved in the transfer of any money to Sam Air? I said, yes, I was. He said, how? And I explained to him, I didn't even know the man had a copy of the letter I wrote the agent. He said, I thought you would lie. He said, lie. I said, well, why would lie for? This was legitimate government. The president gave a directive to me. I'm one of his ministers. Shouldn't I, pass it on to the agents to do it? I did it. So, and in the UN panel report, they said ongoing ties. That was the main thing, ongoing ties with Taylor. But let me talk about his ongoing ties. And I want you all to know, Charles Taylor was my president, and I am proud of it. You can put a gun to my head, you can put a knife to my throat. I would never denounce Charles Taylor. He was a good man. He helped me. And let's face it, all of you here. If you say Taylor was a bad man, let him put his name on the ballot box today. With all he will be president, he will win. He will win. So how can this man be so bad? He was my president, and I got no regrets for serving in a government under his leadership. I didn't serve Charles Taylor. I served the government of Liberia, the people of Liberia. And I'm not afraid to say it. Look, I'm 65 years of age. Soon will be 65. What do I have to lose? But I tell you one thing. Taylor was a good man. Let me tell you one good he did. During the war, me and Ophia Hobsatuma, she had gone to look for her husband, Maurice Atuma. I had gone to look for my mother, Emma Boyd Urey. I was in Freetown, and I got a lift in a plane to Ivory Coast, and I got in a bus and came to Benoni and came to look for my mother. And I met Ophia, and we went to Taylor. I was scared because me and Taylor had confusion. I was terrified. But for the sake of my mother, I said I could do anything. I would die for my mother. Because I learned she was in Bond and I was determined to go and get my mother out. And when we got to him, Eastman and Tom Woiwu were the one who saw me and gave her to, and they took me and carried me to Taylor. And I got to Taylor, and he said, oh, Ben, you came to look for your old man? I said, yeah. He said, okay, I will assign 2 soldiers to you with one of my vehicles. Go look for your man. You and Ophia. Unfortunately for Ophia, we went all the Mount Bago, all around. They didn't find Maurice Atuma. But we went to Bond Mines and we found my mother. We brought her that day, and Taylor said, oh, Ben, let the old lady sleep here with me, and you go find your way in Bond. And so that morning when I went to tell him I was going, he said, no, I will send you one of my cars to the folder, you and the old lady. And he was gracious enough to give me $4,000. I said, wow, this is a man I used to fight with. I said, and he was good enough to give me $4,000. I will forever remain grateful to him because he helped save my mother's life. So, I'm telling you all to say why I worked for Charles Taylor. Now you know it. And this Julie Bryan thing, back to Maritime, we had what you call a lockbox situation at the Maritime, where, in fact, when we took over the Maritime program, they had very little Liberian representation. I forced Liska to have a senior deputy. He was John Morrow. He was the head of the Maritime program. He rested. We appointed him. Then we have Aku, George Aku. he was a deputy commissioner. Topa, he was another deputy commissioner in New York. Ansumana now, who is a deputy commissioner, she was an assistant commissioner under me. And even the man that made deputy commissioner today, Nuku Reeves, he was assistant commissioner under me. You know, these are all people. And we created what you call a lockbox account, where our controller had the code, you know, to the bank account, had one code, and listener had one code. So every Monday morning, they will open these accounts. Whatever amount of money was in it, it would transfer to the consolidated account in Europe for the use of the government. And we only had 10% of the maritime funds to run the program. Okay. Other than 10%, 6% was for us, and 4% went to NSA. So what kind of money do we have in maritime? When you hear these people, you know, but you can't, at my level, one cannot really comment, but I wanted you all to hear some of these things. So I think I've spoken too much. Let's have some more questions. No, let's run it. I meet twice a year with these people.
Okay.
You deserve some time, right?
So let's take Mr. Gamon there, then from there we'll get to.
Okay, my name is Mark Eric Benoni Urey. I report for KMTV. Sir, I would like to know, where do you and the ALP stand on the establishment of war and economic crimes court in Liberia?
Very good. You know, my son, to be honest with you, I am a leader, not a follower. You know, one of the first persons to voice out for the war and economic crime code was Benoni Urey. In fact, one of the first demonstrations I went to. Now you see people jumping on the wagon. When the wagon pulled off a long time ago, you know. But we feel very strongly about this economic and war crimes tribunal. Let it come to Liberia, you know. And I want to even be the first, anybody that got any proof, let them bring it. Because to be honest with you, Benoni, you were never a signatory to no maritime account. I challenge him. Our small money will be running behind 10,000 every week. You know? But we were there. We started this war crime campaign. We're not just jumping on it because everybody jumping on it today. My party is committed to it and we want to see it happen. Let's bring closure to this whole thing and let the country move forward.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Augustus D.R. Bottom from the Heritage newspaper. You reiterated your commitment to the candidacy of the full vice president as it relates to the independent or CPP primary. Why in the event it doesn't go his way?
Well, but definitely we have all attest our signatures to a document that said, not said, but the document says that whoever is elected head of the TT will always support them. And I'm committed to that.
Thank you. So we take the last two.
No, if there's more, let's take it.
Okay. So let's take. Okay. So
Anthony Philip from OKFM. I just want to bring you back a little bit on the issue of the coronavirus crisis in Nigeria. What is the CPP doing to help the government? What is the CPP doing to help the government fight this virus?
Well, the mere fact that I've held this press conference today and doing this awareness, we hope that the leadership of the CPP, you know, Senator Yamdi Kanga Lawrence will now begin the process of engaging the government to ensure that we jointly tackle this problem because we believe it's serious.
Okay, let's take now a woman from Prime FM.
Okay, so I'm now a woman from Prime FM. You spoke about the worsening condition of the economy, and many of you in the opposition have said that it's as a result of poor governance under George Weah. Do you agree with that belief, and that's seen by many of the folks in the opposition community? And what do you suggest to the international community about fixing the economy, particularly the sub-regional block airports? And do you also want to talk about the status of LRB 24, your radio station?
Very good. Let's take the first. George Weah is my friend. Unfortunately, we have gone apart over the years. But if today, Weah would ask me, what can he do, to reawaken the economy of Liberia? The first thing I would tell my friend is that, in solving problems, one have to realize first what is the problem. And that is the biggest problem all of us who happen to be Weah friends have with him. Weah egos, his ego is bigger than the country. Weah has to understand that it is not about Weah. It's about Liberia. You might hate people, you might dislike people, but in the interest of the country, you must deal with them. Because we did not elect you for you to like, dislike, or hate or don't hate somebody. We elected you to get the maximum for the people of Liberia. Now, saying that, I would tell you it's obviously clear that there's a governance crisis in Liberia. Those that are in authority cannot manage the economy. Weah has to realize that. He got to swallow that bitter pill if he wants to succeed for the next 3 years. He has to make some drastic changes. Yes, people could be your friend, they can be your combatant, but if they're not functioning, you have to move them in the interest of the country. Torba did that. He fired people and he cried after he fired them. But in the interest of the country, he let it go. He signed death warrant for his friend. And he cried after he signed it. But in the interest of the country, he had to let it go. My people, with the group we have in governance, they don't have the know-how. They don't have the professional skills and ability to turn this economy around. We have to realize he needs help. And it's not a bad thing to need help. Look at Samuel Kayando. Samuel Kayando had some of the best heads in that mansion. Alvin Jones, Lisa McLean, Max, all those people, some of the best brains in Liberia, he hired them, irrespective of where they came from, or whether he liked them or not. He needed the expertise, so he brought them in. That is what a leader should do. We have to swallow his pride, and he has to make changes if he will improve the governance of this country for the next 3 years. Now, after the next 3 elections, if I was Weah, I would just announce that I am not running for president. And I will call all the experts into Liberia, and let's change the economy, let's change our country. And he still has an opportunity to be a hero. If he announces today that I don't think I will be running for president, come 2023, I want to bring all heads on board. Let's run this country and improve it. He will be, everybody in Liberia will be cheering, clapping for him, you know, and he will become a hero again. But if he remains arrogant and continue to stick to the people who cannot deliver, he will be in problems. Now, you know, I want to go back to the international community. Talking about this coronavirus, I want the international community to know that they have an equal part in this fight against this virus in Liberia as any Liberia, because we're all in Liberia, and all of us will die here. They have an obligation. If the government is not as responsive as it should be, we are members of ECOWAS, we're members of AU, we're members of the UN, they must force this government to do what she needs to do to ensure that this virus is tackled in its present state and it doesn't spread. And if they don't, all of us will be here, all of us will get sick. And some of us will die. And that is what we don't want. The US government invests a lot of money in Ebola. Today, all the infrastructure are not operating. But yet and still, we're all living here. They have to get involved. Look, it was the same American government when they saw Taylor was hindering to peace, they said he must leave and leave now. It's the same American government that can go to the airport or go to the president and tell him, look, my man, you have to do so and so at the airport to ensure that people coming from so and so country, the worst infected country, are quarantined. They must quarantine them, and they must ensure that they be vaccinated before they be allowed to come in. If the government doesn't want to do it, somebody else got to force them to do it. We can't sit and perish as a people. Now, LIB 24. Do you all know the history of LIB 24? It was a former Love radio and television station. This station was running. We were the voice of the CDC. We were the voice of the CDC. The Papa Chimas, every day you were on Love. At Carrier's Grade, he ran the whole campaign from Love and LIB 24. The whole CDC, our their radio station, I was the voice of the opposition. Ellen got so angry that they hired our security, I won't call their name, yellow boys are my picking. They went and they took petrol bombs and they threw it into our building and burned down our radio station. You all know it. In fact, the person they just appointed, Jala Greenfield, he was in the station, he almost died. I carried him to the hospital. That dreadful morning. When they called me and they said, your station is at place. You know, I called Paul, my wife, because he was rain coming down, he rushed there. And I came from Carrisburg. And I sat there. We knew the car, the person who threw the petrol bomb. We reported it to the police director. We reported it to UNMIL. Nothing was ever done. We were the opposition for it. Today, this government, the government I was fighting for, they took our frequency and gave it to Wilson Tape. 105.1. Low frequency. They took it and gave it to Wilson Tape. But look, let me tell you one thing. The government and the ruling party cannot have all the radio stations or influence all of the ones by money, with their money. It can't happen. We got to have a free and fair election. You go up, you count down. This election will be free, fair, and transparent. We will accept nothing less. They cannot have all the radio stations. Okay? We have written the Minister of Information. We have written the ministers, we have spoken to the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs. In fact, he promised me he was going to handle it. He still hasn't done it. We got our transmitter, everything set. In 10 minutes, we can turn on a radio station. We're waiting on them. Can you imagine? After all we did for them, they would deny us the right to broadcast. My people. But it can continue. They must give Patrick Hunter his frequency. They must give Henry Costa his frequency. No, you don't own Liberia. Nobody owns Liberia. It's the right of Liberians to open their radio station. How long can you do it? It has to stop. You know, it has to stop. So, to answer your question, the only person we are not spoken to, and I'd like to be honest, is President Weah. On this Love FM or LIB 24 station. I've spoken to the head of LTA. She had promised me that they would do it. I've spoken to McGill. In fact, McGill put her on the line and instructed her to do it. But we understand there are others involved in it. But we know all of you all here, you know, you'll have to take some strong actions. If these people cannot allow the opposition to open their radio station, boycott them. Stop taking money from them. Do something. You can't depend on political leaders and pressure groups to do everything for you all. Come on, today somebody else, it could be y'all. So that is the status of LIB 24. Ledgerwood, I've written here about 4 letters. He can't respond. So we want to use this media to tell the world that it's in Ledgerwood. You must respond. I'd respond and say you will not do it because of A, B, C, D. Then we'll take it up. You know, but they have to give us our frequency. You cannot take my frequency. You never told me you were taking it away from me. And I called Winston Toppin. And I told him, Mr. Toppin, you are using my frequency. What you do is illegal. Oh, I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you. Nothing. That frequency is for LIB 24. FM 105.1. We've had it for over 25 years. And justice must prevail. They must give back our frequency. One more question.
Thank you.
My name is David Yates and I read for the Video Observer Newspaper. Thank you so much. I listened to you speaking on a lot of issues when it comes to governance, economy. But my question is, what do you make of the ECOWAS ruling in the case of Kabinachan?
My brother, good question. And I'm happy that I said lies. You say lies for the best, huh? But look, if I was George Weah, you see, it comes back to what I was saying earlier. George Weah must let go of this ego. It's not about George Weah. George Weah can't win every battle. He can't win everything. He can't sing every song. He can't play every sport and be the hero. He got to let some go. This battle, he lost it. He has to respect his elders. I'm talking about the other heads of states in ECOWAS. The ECOWAS courts have ruled. We are a signatory to that convention. We must abide by it. By now, I would think my friend would have called Kabina and start negotiating. My friend, okay, you won. What is your country? What can we do to harmonize this thing? Look, the Liberian way and the Liberian people, the good people. I know Kabina. He's a good man. You know, we have had many clashes, but I respect him and he respects me. And he loves Liberia. I can attest to that. And he will do nothing to harm Liberia. So let Weah lay his pride aside. Let him call this man in the interest of the country. sit and negotiate with the man. You know? And I think he would listen. But there has to be some solution. You don't want ECOWAS to put us on sanction. Because you see, eventually all of us suffer. Well, we got to go to hospital, Ghana, or one Senegal, or one African country. Now they put us on sanction, we got nowhere to go. You know, he has. And look, you got to listen to somebody sometime. And this is what he needs to do. Listen to somebody. You see, and lastly, I want to say one thing. There is no shortage of professional people for governance in Liberia. There are many educated, many professionals out there. You just need to take them. You got to, you know, everything cannot be CDC. No, the whole election commission.
So if you're being called on board today to serve, will you accept the job?
No, I can only serve in the capacity of making suggestions and advising. I've passed the stage of being minister. Okay, so we are the senior citizens. So, but finally, my people, I want to appeal to all of you all. So let's keep this pressure on and let's keep fighting for our country. I want to remind you to go out and carry the message that this coronavirus is real and it's killing our people. All the hospitals are crowded. People are sick. Don't joke about it. All of you all got television stations. You have radio stations. You have newspaper. It's no joke. Let's get on it. Let's fight this battle that we may all live. I want to thank you all for the time you spent with me, and let's keep this interaction, and hopefully we will get there.
Thanks very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the Fourth Estate, I'm forward on behalf of the All Liberian Party and the political leader, Honorable Benoni Urey. I want to say thank you for attending this elaborate press conference that highlights a wide range of national issues. Thank you very much. May God bless you all and save the state. Thank you.